Mark, thank you so much for joining today. I know our candidates really appreciate hearing your perspective being a right at home franchise owner. Would you start out just sharing your name, location, and when you became a right at home franchise owner?
Yeah. So Mark Willder. I became an owner in August of 2021, opened the doors here on December the 6th of 2021. So we're about 14 months in right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. And what was your background before becoming a right at home franchise owner?
Like many, probably nothing related to this whatsoever. So my background has been in technology and software for 25 years. Prior to that, I was working on a PhD in German literature. I wanted to be a professor and teach. We had our
Okay.
oldest child, and I realized I had to get a job and actually support my family. So I
Uh,
got out of grad school, got into technology, which I still really enjoy, that facet of the business here. And yeah, so it was really nothing related whatsoever to this.
yeah, so that's a big shift, going from
Yeah.
healthcare to what you were doing. So why did you choose to become a right at home franchise owner?
Yeah, I think even though I enjoyed technology, I worked for some really well-known software companies, and I was able to build different organizations and employ people. I never really, this is probably sounds like a cliche these days, but I really grew tired of it. I grew tired of sitting in meetings that were not really important to me kind of personally. I didn't really feel like what I was engaged in actually helped people. We made software that helped other companies make money, which,
Mhm.
employs people. So that's a good thing, obviously. But I was at this point in my life where I just wanted to do something which would have an impact on people. I'm a first generation American, and so my parents really thankfully decided to come here. And so, but I was grew up with no extended family around. I didn't really get to spend much time with my grandparents at all.
Mhm.
I mean, we'd go over back to the UK every, probably 3 or 4 times when I was a kid. But I never could stop by and visit them or care for them or, bring them gifts or just kind of it didn't have that in my life. And so I think that was something I didn't realize I think I knew I was missing that, but I think when I found Right at Home, it was just a wonderful fit to kind of allow me to serve others and also kind of have that relationship in return, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So, knowing that you've been, up and running for about 14 months now, tell me about
Uh-huh.
what your typical day looked like when you first got started versus what it looks
Oh,
like.
wow. When we first got started, it's kind of scary. Now, Right Home does a great job in preparing um, franchise owners. The system works, and so I had faith in that. And we have wonderful business coaches, and that was really great too. But early on, it was just trying to get the word out. I mean, there hadn't been a Right at Home around. There were quite a few competitors in place,
Mhm.
and so it was really a lot of white knuckling it early on, just kind of holding on and trusting in right at home corporate but again, just spend a lot of time just meeting people, just getting out and pounding the pavement, talking to people, establishing relationships, many of which took a while to bear fruit, but we've been able to help them as well. So really it was a lot of outside sales. The balance between hiring and getting your first clients is scary. Remember, I think our second client was 84 hours a week. We're there every day, and so it was scary. So I was giving care too. I became a CNA
Okay.
before we launched the business, just to kind of prepare myself to be a better boss and to have more insights into what our clients are going through. And so that was handy early on when I was actually giving care myself until we could kind of ramp up the hiring process. So now it's different. I mean, we still are quite a small office. We're pretty lean, and I've done that on purpose. I wanted to really be hands-on and thoroughly understand every facet of the business. So I'm involved in inside sales. I still answer the phone. I talk to prospects. I try and pinpoint what their needs are and kind of match that with our services.
Mhm.
I do the outside sales as well. After this today, I'm gonna run over and talk to some other of our partners and remind them that we are ready to help. I do a lot of that. I do the assessments. I do the first shifts. I'll accompany our caregivers for the first shift. I do our billing, our invoicing, our receivables, payroll. And that happens at different stages in the course of the week, right? What I love about this job is I'm not stuck in an office looking at spreadsheets all day, even though I do that voluntarily. Usually on Fridays, I'll really review the business KPI. But I'm out talking to people, which is wonderful. And I'm actually, making my own schedule. And it's a nice mixture of things, all of which interest me, and yeah, so it's a varied approach, which I really enjoy right at home.
Fantastic. And then what piece of support do you feel is the most valuable being part of the Right at Home franchise system?
Again, I probably would say two things. One is that there's this process, and I remember talking to other franchise owners as part of the due diligence and really asking them what they've done to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like time and time again, it came back to, hey, if you just follow what's been done before and what's proven, you'll be successful. And that was really reassuring to me early on, as you know, I kind of stepped off into this brand new world, no background in home health, right? And what am I doing here? And and so I think that was a level of confidence. And then having a business coach has been phenomenal. And I've really been plugged into him and to the process and the process through him. And it's been nice to be able to talk weekly. We talk weekly, and I ask questions, and he'll be able to share, best practices that other owners have employed at kind of our stage of ownership. And I think it's been a wonderful kind of added facet to what we do here, is to have a business coach to kind of reinforce stuff and encourage me when I'm feeling a little bit shaky in some areas. As part of being an owner of a business is gradually becoming aware of what you don't know. And there's so many blind spots. At first, it's all blindness. And then you minimize that over time, and then gradually you can kind of fine tune and apply some of the best practices that you knew existed, but you just couldn't do initially because you're working the fundamentals. And so our business coach has been phenomenal in that respect. So I've been very thankful for that.
Perfect. And I really loved when you shared that you really set it up in a way where you would get in there and learn all the pieces of the business.
Totally important. Yeah. I could not imagine doing this and relying on others. I mean, I'm sure that happens, but I want to do the best job possible. And until I actually understand and experience every facet of that, every aspect, then it's hard to know kind of where to improve. So.
And that's going to help you long term just be a better leader as well, as far as, hey,
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. Yeah. I think I would feel really exposed if I were kind of hands off. And I even though the process would work, I just want to be able to be hands on. And so I kind of know when it's right to bring on someone else, and what are the best practices? What have I seen myself? This is a very different, I mean, every territory is different. In Utah, where we are, huge traditional families out here. I meet with adult children, and they're one of 10 or 8 or 12 kids, and they're all taking shifts serving their mom and dad, right? Which is very unique compared to a lot of communities in the country here. So there's different things which have to be adapted. The process definitely works, the system works, but there's nuances that if I weren't engaged on a daily basis, I would probably overlook and make mistakes. So.
Sure, absolutely. And what piece of advice would you offer, like a candidate going through the process, that you would have found really helpful, back when you were going through the process?
Yeah, I thought a lot about this question because I wanted to add something, and certainly, it's 24/7, and that's all you hear that in training, and that's something I probably didn't quite grasp, but it really is that way, and that's a good thing because I wanted again to be involved. But I think for me, it's how emotional this can actually be. And we're kind of parachuted into these real life situations. It doesn't get any more real in life than a situation where your loved one is suffering and needs help. I mean, so that's, and I going into these situations where you're talking to the family members, and the pain and concern and fear is evident, right? And we're kind of again, parachuted in there. And it's a wonderful thing to be able then to offer a solution. And I've left I'm not an overly emotional guy, I guess. My wife would attest to that. But I've left many of these conversations really kind of choked up, where it's like, wow, this is like a real privilege. Like, it's an honor that they'll choose right at home. And I've had many, 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 many dozens of these situations where, we have something that they need, and we're not selling it. It's just you're matching up a need with a service, and they're grateful for that. And so, and to meet these amazing individuals who have lived long lives and been productive, and they've raised families and have professions, and to see them in a moment of need, it doesn't get more real than that. And that's why I was drawn, I think, to Right at Home. And I left a very sterile, important role at a technology company. I'm not disparaging that at all, but for me, I needed more of that contact with people. So I think it can get emotional. And, when you lose clients, that can be painful sometimes, right? And sometimes I have to take a breather and go skiing and kind of recenter myself and I don't want to lose that emotional part. I don't want to be callous and look at this as purely a business and numbers and KPI, which it is. And, we've all got families to support. And so I don't want to lose part of that emotional side, but it's also important, I guess, to kind of allow yourself to take a deep breath and kind of refocus and realize that's part of it. And it's okay to grieve once in a while. And so, so that emotionality, I think, is important. I think that I would share with other people looking at being franchise owners right at home.
Absolutely. And I'm sure too, like it gives you so much gratitude to know, what a difference you're making. One of those things where, we take our health and our ability to do things for ourselves for granted until we see somebody in a situation, that was, like you said, thriving career and family, and all these things, and it's a situation none of us want to be in, but eventually, most of us are going to get older. And I think just having that same level of empathy, to say, what, I'm not going through this, but I can provide a solution. I can, make this process easier. And ultimately that helps the senior be able to age in place successfully.
It does, for sure. I lost my mom like 5 months ago. And so she had a couple strokes. It was really interesting to be on the family side of things. And I was so thankful that I'd had the experience that I've had with other clients, because it really helped understand, again, how to help her in the best fashion as well. And to your point, we've got veterans as well. And we've got vets who've had Purple Hearts. One gentleman he was stabbed and shot in Vietnam. And so I was like, oh my goodness, these are amazing people, right? They've done so much for different constituencies, in his case, right, for us as American citizens. And so it's a real privilege, and so to actually then have all the resources and background and assets that Right at Home brings to bear at our fingertips, right? And it's really cool to kind of, again, marry those resources with the client's needs. And I've never, and I've done a lot of sales things in my life, and sometimes it's fun and sometimes it wasn't. In this case, it's never once felt like I'm selling something, right? And I know maybe some owners are scared about talking to clients or that facet of representing the business, but it's just having relationships, it's having conversations with people who are desperate at times, right? And so they're easy conversations to have, I think, for me personally, because I maybe am attuned to this and through my own personal experiences in life and that I've mentioned here today. But it's easy to have those conversations, and then that leads to getting people to trust us, right? And so then we have the system in place that gives you confidence. So it's not been easy. It's definitely been a ton of work. But we've, after 14 months, have 50 or 60 caregivers now. We've got 3 or 4 dozen clients we're helping. So it's been really amazing. And so I'm excited about the future for sure.
Absolutely. And I think too, knowing what a difference you're making and having that passion that comes through talking to you. So I can imagine, people's family members and clients themselves, want to work with you because of the passion that you bring and how much you do care about people.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's really amazing. I know, at Right at Home Corporate, we are so grateful for people like you. Because we know what a huge impact you're making on countless people's lives.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, thank you for all you do. I hope to meet you in person sometime.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I'll be out there at the Home Improvement Conference in Orlando, so maybe we'll cross paths.
Fantastic. Yes, it has been such a pleasure. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. And thank you so much for your time. Your perspective and experience is going to be so helpful to candidates.
I appreciate that. And I'm happy to help anytime you need something. And it was really helpful for me to learn from other franchise owners as well when I was just starting. So happy to give back.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mark. Have a great day.
Take care, guys. All right. See you. Bye.